From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Line on Tuesday night. I'm Ben Hall. Very good show tonight. We're talking about a topic that unfortunately affects way too many people. Scams. We want to avoid scams. This is something, though, many people are affected by. Unfortunately, more often than not, it is the elderly. And so we want to talk to you tonight about how to avoid that. What are some of the scams that are out there? What are some of the things we should be looking for? And if you have stories about a scam that you maybe were almost a part of, but you stopped it, that's a great story. Call us with that story. Or if you want to share a situation where you fell victim to one of these things, let us know. But let's bring in our guests. They know all about this. First of all, Mary Beth Faringer, right?
Faringer.
I said it wrong. I'm so sorry. Mary Beth Faringer,
used to it.
the Executive Director of the Council on Aging Greater Nashville. Thank you for being with us. And Rebecca Kelly, the State Director of AARP. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So how big set the table here, how big a problem, scams in Middle Tennessee right now? Rebecca, how big a problem?
Well, I can talk nationwide and statewide. Every 2 seconds, somebody in this country falls to a scam. So it's a pretty big deal.
Every 2 seconds?
Every 2 seconds.
And we're talking billions of dollars, right?
Last year, I think 12.6 million across the country fell victim to scams. So often it's embarrassing if you are vulnerable and you feel like you weren't smart enough to figure it out. You're in really good company, unfortunately.
And what are some of the scams that are out there right now here in Middle Tennessee people should be thinking about? Maybe even just the last few months, weeks that you've heard about.
Yeah, we hear about a lot of them, and one popular one right now is that someone receives a mailing that they have won a Canadian lottery. And one of the red flags that we like to say is they didn't enter the Canadian lottery, so how can you win it? And the scam part really comes in where to claim your winnings, you have to send some sort of handling fee. And that's another red flag. And that one is very popular. A lot of seniors will get that mailing and think, oh, I could pay for my grandchild's college with that money, and kind of want it to be true, and so they fall victim to it.
And that is my question. I mean, it seems like we do talk about this, and that seems fairly obvious, almost to the point where you laugh. If you are told you won the Canadian lottery and you never entered the Canadian lottery, it seems like you should know you didn't win the Canadian lottery. But why do so many people go for these things?
Con artists are smart. They're just really smart, and they're convincing, and they often will be friendly. If it's a phone, then they get to know you. Hey, I'm Jim. I live in so-and-so, and sort of reel you into the conversation so that you begin to trust them, or you let your guard down a little bit. And we actually try to tell folks to just be alert all the time. We don't want to scare folks. We're trying to equip people with good information so that they are ready for the con artists when they approach them, wherever it is, whether it's phone or mailbox or internet or front door.
And we're getting a couple of calls, and hold on if you're on the line. What are some other scams? Are there some other ones that are popular, big out there?
Yeah, there are. Well, two things. As Rebecca mentioned with the phone calls, I think seniors are particularly vulnerable to that. If you think about the fact when a senior quits driving, they're stuck at home all day. They may not see or hear from anyone the whole day, and then this nice man calls and is just so sweet and willing to talk with them and tells them about how they can make all this money, and it's easy to want to have that human connection again, and so they kind of fall victim to that, and I think that's especially devious.
That is. And is Nashville or Middle Tennessee or the state of Tennessee, do we see more of this activity than other areas? Do we know about that? What do you...
Actually, AARP has started the Fraud Watch Network to sort of gather this kind of data. The beauty of this, and the reason that we've started the campaign nationwide, is because it's such a big problem, and we really want people who have been scammed to be part of the solution. So the idea is that you join the Fraud Watch Network, and when you become a member, you can join at any age. You don't have to be an AARP member, and And once you sign up online, and it's legitimate, then you begin to get alerts of the latest scam in your area, just to give you a heads up. And then you also can enter your scam, whatever you've just been approached with, and it's a constant gathering of information. And then law enforcement, we're working with them, and they're continuing to put their latest experiences on that map. And so we really encourage people to sign up for, it's just AARP.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
That's great. I mean, the more information, the better.
Absolutely.
And when you're dealing with this, do you just hear some heartbreaking stories?
You do.
I mean, what are some that come to mind, and we'll kind of share them as the night goes on. But what are some that come to mind? You know, just heartbreaking stories.
There was one I remember from several years ago that it was actually a UPS driver that kind of uncovered this because he was constantly delivering packages to this elderly lady. I mean, almost maybe every other day. And one day he happened to kind of see inside the house, and all the boxes were just there. But she was continuing to buy things that she wasn't using, no one in her family was using, and really using up all of her savings because someone was convincing her that she needed these things. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a heartbreaking one. I think another heartbreaking one is involving grandchildren. Maybe that hits me because I'm a grandmother.
Right.
But in that one, a young man typically calls and says, "Grandma," and Grandma can't quite hear him, but says, "Yeah, what is this? Is this John?" And he says, "Yes." And then he says he's in a foreign country and he's been arrested and he needs money to get out, and he doesn't want to disturb his parents because they'll be so upset with him. And "Grandma, please wire me some money."
Oh, wow.
And of course, a grandmother's going to want to help her grandson. And that one has been around for a while and has been all over the country.
Oh, wow.
I would just add the financial ones always hurt as well, not just the ones that tug on your heartstring, but people who lose thousands and thousands of dollars trusting that something is legitimate and they find out that it's really not.
I bet. Let's go to Jay on line one. Hello, Jay.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I know firsthand out in a rural area, such as where my parents live in Giles County, there's this elderly lady, and we've always watched out for her. Her son lives out of state, and luckily we had a bad storm, and my father and his best friend happened to just go by and check on her, and there was these two gentlemen there that she had done paid to do the work. And also, luckily, my dad's best friend was a retired state trooper, and come to find out, they were out of state, and they had warrants for them for scamming the elderly. And I just want to tell everyone, just watch out for the elderly out in the rural areas. Thanks.
That's great. That's great. And so there's a case where they were actually, so often it seems like these people, they're so brazen, and they just get away with it. They're never caught for this kind of thing. Yeah. But there's a case where that's good. I mean, what do you think about what he had to say?
I think there were a couple of things he said that kind of raised red flags. The fact that they had come from out of state. When you are dealing with a contractor like that, maybe someone that comes to your house and says you need a new roof, if they don't have a local address, if all they have is a post office box, that's kind of a red flag. If they want money up front. Now, it's perfectly legitimate for a roofer or someone doing a fence to want some upfront money to pay for the materials, but certainly not the entire amount. So those were a couple of red flags in what Jay said that struck me.
Yeah, I was also thinking that the opportunity, the con artist is always looking for that opportunity. So in this case, it sounds like there was a disaster or there was something that happened. And again, con artists are smart people. And so we've got to stay just as alert.
All right, let's go to Ed on line 2. Hello, Ed.
Yeah.
Hi, what's on your mind?
What happened when we were in a home and we were evicted from that home, and all that we had got on the door was a cash for keys notice. There was no legal eviction order when we went to court behind the eviction or anything. It was just a cash for keys notice offering us $1,200 for the keys to that house. we took that to be a scam, and we did not move, but they forcibly removed us for that home about 2 weeks later than that.
Wow. All right, cash for keys. What do you know about that?
I hadn't heard that one before.
Neither have I. And I would just encourage you to connect with the local law enforcement in your area, make sure they're aware of it, and then also put it online. I mean, I encourage you to use the Fraud Watch Network and go ahead and enter what happened to you just to alert other folks. Doesn't sound like an up and up situation or the way to do business or the way most people does business.
And what about real estate scams in general? There are some out there, right? You put out a newsletter, right?
Well, we put out an email blast.
An email blast, okay, good.
Every month that kind of alerts people to some scam we've heard about. And sometimes we try, as Rebecca kind of indicated, we try to stay a little bit ahead. If we hear of a scam, say in Kentucky, when the people in Kentucky become aware of that scam, guess where they're going to move to? They're going to move to Tennessee. So if we can alert people ahead of time, and whether it's through our Scam of the Month email blast or through the fraud alert, the more people can hear about these things, the more real it becomes to them, and they might be a little more alert to them.
Well, that's why we want to ask you, if you have a story of a scam that you thwarted, that you stopped, please give us a call, let us know about that, or if you fell victim to one and you want to share that story, we'd certainly like to hear that. We're going to take a break. Come back. When we come back, we're going to see a story that was done just recently about a scam that happened in Murfreesboro. Very interesting story. So we'll take a break. Be back right after this.